Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Scintillating Showcase, a virtual open mic night brought to you by Intervision Entertainment. I'm your host, Danielle May, and for the month of October, I thought I would host the Scintillating Showcase as different musical artists. So tonight, I'm Dolly Parton. And for even more fun, we at Intervision thought we would try things a little differently and introduce a theme tonight. Our first official theme is witchcraft, so get ready for some spooky stuff. If you didn't prepare, something for the theme, that's okay. It's still as you will, as you like it. We'll take everything. We just love to have you here. Real quick reminder before we begin, please mute yourself while performances are happening so we don't get any stray sounds wandering in. You can do that by clicking the little microphone in the lower left-hand section of your screen. If it has a line through it, you're muted. But just because you're muted doesn't mean you can't give us little comments of encouragement. You can do that in the chat on the lower right-hand side on a phone or the lower middle on a computer. And I think a few of you have used that already, so we all know where that is. And that's everything I need to say. So on with the show. So for my first song of the evening, I thought I'd do a little tune that my friend Bobby Bear wrote about the most famous voodoo queen of all, Marie Laveau from Louisiana. Now, there's all kinds of strange and unnatural tales about Marie. She's supposed to have lots of magical spells and potions and curses, and, well, I'll just sing about her. Down in Louisiana where the black trees grow lives a voodoo lady named Marie Laveau. She got a black cast tooth and a mojo bone, and anyone who wouldn't leave her alone, she'd go, "Wee! Another man done gone." She lives in a swamp in a hollow log with a one-eyed snake and a three-legged dog. She got a bamboni body, stringy hair, and if she ever caught y'all a mess around there, she'd go, "Wee! Another man done gone." She means business. Late one night when the moon was black, into the swamp come handsome Jack, a no good man like you all know. And he was looking for Marie Laveau. He said, "Marie Laveau, you lovely witch, give me a charm that'll make me rich. Give me $1 million and I'll tell you what I'll do. This very night I'm gonna marry you, and it'll be another man done gone." So Marie done some magic and she shook a little sand, made $1 million and put it in his hand, and then she giggled and she wiggled and she said, "Hey, hey, I'm getting ready for my wedding day." Oh, but old handsome Jack, he said, "Goodbye, Marie. You're too damn ugly for a rich man like me." And then Marie started mumbling and her fangs started gnashing. Her body started trembling and her eyes started flashing, and she went, "Ee! Another man done gone." So if you ever get down to where the black trees grow, meet a voodoo lady named Marie Laveau. If she ever asks you to make her your wife, man, you better stick with her for the rest of your life, or it'll be another man done gone. Thank you, everybody. That was real fun doing that for y'all. So our next guest of the evening is someone from all the way over on the East Coast. We have a Mr. Angus. Angus, are you ready tonight?
Before we start, Dolly, I was wondering if we could do a question for each of our guests tonight. What do you think?
Oh, question for each of our guests. All right. Do you want to include the ones that aren't performing, or just ever, or?
Well, let's do the ones that are performing, then we'll see what time we've got. But I'm thinking their favorite witchies of all time.
Oh, your favorite witch of all time?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't we start with yours then?
All right. Well, I was thinking as each person goes up, but
Mm,
you've got a point. I
that's an
should
even
probably
better. That's an even better idea. I like that idea better. All right. So, Mr. John Downing, or Mr. Angus, before you go ahead and get started with what you have prepared for us tonight, who is your favorite witch?
To be very honest, I haven't thought to that. Um,
That's okay. Me neither.
oh, possibly Merlin's fort in the King Arthur Sword in the Stone comic, a cartoon.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. All right. Well, we are very happy to have you with us tonight. So why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Okay, before I do, I didn't realize this was a musical program. What I had prepared was story. And if I tell it in its entirety, it is 11 minutes, but I can cut it.
First of all, we're doing all sorts of varieties, so you are more than welcome, sir. And secondly, you are allowed all 11 minutes. Come and wow us.
Okay, this is a Scottish tale of drunkenness and a witch dance. And while it is not technically period, I have been recently reading through James VI's book, Demonology, and so far I'm getting many cases where the themes in the story do line back to 1597. As it being a 1590-ish Scot myself, that seems like a good match. So here goes a tale of Tam O'Shanter, which is drunkenness and witchcraft. As Chapman Billies leave the street and Drouthy neighbors meet, as market days are wearing late and folk begin to tack the gate, while we sit bowsing at the nappy, getting foul and unco happy, we think not on the lang Scots miles, the mosses, waters, slaps, and stiles that lie between us and our aim, where sits our sulky, sullen game, gathering her brows like gathering storm, nursing her wrath to keep it warm. This truth fond honest Tam O'Shanter is he for an air and nixed canter. All air whom ne'er a tone surpasses for honest men and bonny lasses. Oh, Tam, had thou but been sae wise as ta'en thy ain wife Kate's advice, she told thee well thou was a skillum, a blithering, blustering, drunken blillum, that frae November till October, a market day thou was na sober. That ilka milder with the miller thou sat as lang as thou had siller. That ilka nag was caught a shoe on, the smith and thee got roaring foo on. That at the laird's house, e'en on Sunday, thou drank with Kirk and Jean till Monday. She prophesied that late or soon thou would be found deep drowned in Doon or catched with warlocks in the murk by Alloway's all haunted kirk. Ah, gentle dames, it gars me great to think how many counsels sweet, how many lengthened sage advices the husband frae the wife despises. But tae our tale, a market nick, Tam had got planted unco Rick fast by an ingle blazing finely with reaming swats that ranked divinely. And at his elbow suitor Johnny, his ancient, trusty, drouthy crony. Tam Luden like a very brother, they had been foul for weeks together. The landlady and Tam grew gracious, with favors, secret, sweet, and precious. The suitor told his quittest stories, the landlord's laugh was ready chorus. The storm without McRae and Russell, Tam did not mind the storm a whistle. Care, mad to see a man say happy, e'en drowned himself among the nappy, as bees flee hame with lades of treasure. The minutes winged their way with pleasure. Kings may be blessed, but Tam was glorious, for all the ills of life victorious. But pleasures are like poppy spread, You sees the flood its bloomish shed, or lick the snaw falls in the river, a minute white, then melts forever. Or lick the rainbow's lovely form, vanishing amid the storm. Nae man can tether time or tide. The hour approaches, Tam mun ride. That hour, next black arch, the key stain, that dreary hour he mounts his beast in, and sickening as takes the road in, as ne'er a poor sinner was abroad in. The wind blew as 'twould blawn its last. The rattling shores rose on the blast. The speedy gleams the darkness swallowed. Lewd, deep and lang, the thunder bellowed. That nicht a child might understand the deal had business on his hand. Wheel mounted on his grey mare beg, a better never lifted leg. Tam skelped on through dub and mire, despising wind and rain and fire, whilst holding fast his good blue bonnet, whilst crooning o'er some auld Scots sonnet, whilst glorying round through with prudent cares, lest bubbles catch him unawares. Kirk Alloway was drawing nigh where ghasts and hoolets nickly cry. By this time he was across the ford, where in the snaw the chapman smoored, and past the barks and meikle stain, where drunken Charlie brak his neck bane, and through the winds and by the cairn where hunters found the murdered bairn, and near the thorn aboon the well, where Mungo's mither hanged herself. Before him Doon pours awe his floods. The doubling storm roars through the woods. The lightnings flash frae pole to pole. Near and more near the thunders roll. When glimmering through the groaning trees, Kirk Alloway seemed in a blaze. To ilka bore the beams were glancing, and loud resounded mirth and dancing. Inspiring, bold John Barleycorn, what dangers canst thou make thou scorn? With the penny we fear nae evil, with Usquabae we'll face the deal. The swat say reamed in Tammy's noddle, fair play he cared not deals a bottle. But Maggie stood ricksair astonished, till by the heel and hand admonished, she ventured forward on the licht. And wow, Tam saw an unco sicht. Warlocks and witches in a dance. Nay, cotillion Brent knew frae France, but hornpipes, jigs, strathspeys, and reels put life and metal in their heels. A winnock bunker in the east, there sat Auld Nick in shape of beast. A towsy tyke, black, grim and large, to gie him music was his charge. He screed the pipes and got them skirled, till roof and rafters awe did dirl. Coffins stood round like open presses that showed the deed in their last dresses. And by some devilish cantricks, like each in its called hand held a licht by which heroic Tam was able to note upon the Haley table a murderer's banes and giblet irons, twa span lang, wee unchristened bairns, a thief new cutted frae a rape, with his last gasp his gab did gape. 5 tomahawks with blood red rusted, 5 scimitars with murder crusted, a garter which a babe had strangled, a knife i father's throat had mangled, whom his ain son a life bereft, the grey hairs yet stacked to the heft. Wi' mair a horrible and awful, which e'en to name would be unlawful. 3 lawyers' tongues turned inside out, with lies seemed like a beggar's clute. 3 priest hearts, rotten, black as muck, lay stinking vile at ilka nook. As Tammy glowered, amazed and curious, the mirth and fun grew fast and furious. The piper lewd and lewd blew, the dancers quick and quicker flew. They reeled, they set, they crossed, they cleeked, till ilka carler swat and reeked, and coosed her duddies tae the work, and linked at it in her sark. Now Tam, oh Tam, had they been queens, plump and strapping in their teens, their sarks instead of creashy flannin been snaw white 1700 linen. Their breeks of mine only pair that ain't were plush of good blue hair, I would have gained them off my herdies for a blink of the bonny birdies. But withered bedlams, auld and droll, rig woody hags would speen a foal, looping and flinging on a crummock. I wonder, did not turn thy stomach? But Tam kenned what was wit for brawly. There was a winsome wench and Wally that nicked enlisted in the corps. Lang after kenned on Kerrick short for money a beast a deed she shot, and perished money a bonny boat, and shook baith meikle corn and bear, and kept the countryside in fear. Her country sark, O paisley harn that while a lassie she had worn, in longitude though sorely scanty, it was her best, and she was vaunty. Ah, little ken thy reverend granny that sark she coughed for her wee nanny with twa pun Scots. 'Twas all her riches would ever graced a dance o' witches. But here my muse her wings mun core, sic flicks afar beyond her poor, to sing how Nanny lapped and flang, a supple jade she wasn't strang, and whose tam stood like ane bewitched, and thought his very een enriched. Een Satan glowed and fidged for fain, and hotched and blew and mucked and maimed, till first the caper sign another tam tit his reason all together and roars out, "Well done, Cuddy Sark!" And in an instant, all was dark. And scarcely had he, Maggie, rallied when out the hellish legion sallied. As bees biz out with angry fyke, when plundering herds assail the bike, as open pussies, mortal foes, when pop she starts before their nose, as eager rins the market crowd, when "Catch the thief!" these zoons allude. Say Maggie runs, the witches follow, with money and eldritch screech and hollow. Ah, Tam, thou get thy fairin'. In hell they'll roast thee like a herring. In vain thy Kate awaits thy coming. Kate soon will be a waeful woman. No, do thy speedy utmost, Meg, and win the keystane o' the brig. There them thou thy tail may toss. A running stream they dare not cross. But ere the keystane she could make, a find to tail she had to shake, for Nanny far before the rest hard upon noble Maggie pressed. She flew on that Tam with furious ettle, but little wist she Maggie's mettle. A spring brought off her master hail, but left behind her ain grey tail. The carlin caught her by the rump, and left poor Maggie scarce a stump. Now, while this tale a truth shall read, ilk man and mither's son tak heed. Whene'er to drink ye are inclined, or Cuddy Sarks run in your mind, think. Ye may buy joys or dear. Remember Tam O'Shanter's muir.
Oh, that was so wonderful. We really, really liked that. Several of us are in the SCA, and so we appreciate that. But even those of us who are not also appreciate that, because that was so good. Thank you so much, Mr. Angus.
And that's part of what we're trying to do with this event. We're trying to kind of bridge the gap between modern open mic and showcasing events and bardic events, because there's a lot of us that like both. So thank you so much. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Yes, we really, really appreciate it. And yeah, we're all over here. Check out the comments afterwards. You'll see a bunch of people like, wow, this is so good.
It was so good, my cat liked it, and he's fussy.
Well, I am working on recording that, and I will put it on a number of pages, both SCA and non-SCA.
Wonderful.
But perfectionism has got to me at the moment, and I haven't got one yet I'm quite happy with.
I know that feeling all too well.
And before I mute, just for your awareness, I am mid-realm rather than Eastern.
Oh, okay.
And my preferred SCA handle is Angus Old Fart.
Angus Old Fart.
But in polite circles, I go by Angus Folksinger.
Oh, they're so fun in the mid-realm. Everyone else is kind of gets a little bit, well, especially here in Kaid, we get a little too stick in our tushies. But, you know, I like the bold name. I actually feel like that's more of the spirit of the original, you know, group that started the SCA. After all, they were just a bunch of drunk folks at a party that put propane tanks on their heads.
I am having a little problem with the heralds, so I don't have it registered yet. And what really frustrates me is my Scottish son-in-law had a period ancestor who something like Einstein the fart, and the heralds won't let me use fart.
Oh, I love it too. Well, you know, not that it counts for much, but you have our stamp of approval right here.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
Sachin said it was okay. I have absolutely no clout, but just tell them I said it was okay.
I was thinking the same thing. All right, Dolly, what do we have next?
so next up, we have another friend of ours who actually is from the East Coast. Let's give a big round of applause and warm welcome for Miss Sadie.
Thank you so much, darling. It's so wonderful to be here.
And before you start, Miss Sadie, can you tell us your favorite witch?
My favorite witch, it's very hard to say I have many favorites, but the one that comes to mind right now, I think, is Agnes Nutter, because she knew what was up in every way. Like, literally, she knew everything. And, you know, I gotta love a woman who faces her death willingly and then also is vindictive at the same time. It's just, it's so rad. I love her. Anyway, for those who have not read and or seen Good Omens, do yourself a favor. It's delightful. All right, so I've got two little songs for y'all this evening, and they're both pretty witchy. One is the poppiest and girliest thing I will ever sing, because I don't normally do that. Those who know me are like, huh? And then the other one is a bit of a classic in the witchy genre. So we'll start with the cutesy one, and then we'll move on to a little bit more of a classic. There's no rest for the wicked heart when you can't see now what you really want. Got a fire in my blood that can burn the sun, and I'm not afraid 'cause I die for love. Tick, tick, tock, and now it's time to get back what I've left behind. I know that there's a sacrifice, and I'm ready to pay the price. I'm a dance, dance, dance into the dark. I hear my heart beat faster. I'm not afraid to take that chance, 'cause let me tell you, when it comes to love, I'm going straight to hell, yeah. Can I have it all, or is that too much? 'Cause I'm a real bad witch and I won't give up. I'm a nightmare wrapped in a pretty bow. Just wait till I get there down below. Knock, knock, knock on the gates of hell. Guess who's back with another spell? Satan always gets his way, but I don't play the devil's game. I'm a dance, dance, dance into the dark. I hear my heart beat faster. I'm not afraid to take that chance, 'cause let me tell you, when it comes to love, I'm going straight to hell. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. I'm a dance, dance, dance until the dark. I hear my heart beat faster. I'm not afraid to take that chance, 'cause let me tell you, when it comes to love, I'm going straight to hell. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, when it comes to love, I'm going straight to hell. All right. Thank you very much, beautiful people.
That was great.
And thank you.
That was amazing. I can't
Thank
wait for you to see the
you.
comments.
It's like, I'm almost embarrassed to tell those who don't know where it's from. But it was actually written for the Sabrina the Teenage Witch reboot that's on Netflix right now.
Wait, what? What? Can you say that loud again?
Sabrina the Teenage Witch reboot that's on Netflix right now, which is like trash, and I love it. Because I can't resist. It's just so fun. But this one's a bit more of a classic. I think more of you will probably know it. I'll just jump in, and if anyone doesn't know it, we can talk about it afterwards. I mean, it is trash. Let's be real. It's great trash, but it's trash. This is not, though. Rhiannon rings like a bell through the night, and wouldn't you love to love her? Takes to the sky like a bird in flight, and who will be her lover? All your life you've never seen a woman taken by the wind. Would you stay if she promised you heaven? Will you ever win? She is like a cat in the dark, and then she is the darkness. She rules her life like a fine skylark, and when the sky is starless. All your life you've never seen a woman taken by the wind. Would you stay if she promised you heaven? Will you ever win? Will you ever win? Rhiannon, 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 Rhiannon. She rings like a bell through the night, and wouldn't you love to love her? She rules her life like a bird in flight, and who will be her lover? All your life you've never seen a woman taken by the wind. Would you stay if she promised you heaven? Will you ever win? Will you ever win? Rhiannon, Rhiannon, Rhiannon. Ooh, taken by the sky. Taken by the sky. Taken by the sky.
Awesome.
Oh, that was fantastic. Oh, that was so good, Sadie.
Thank you. I love the witchy things.
I'm sorry. It's really, really hard for me to say how much I appreciate that in character, because everything I say just sounds like I don't really mean it, but I do.
Sorry. I'm fine.
I'm sorry. It's just that everything I say right now sounds so polite. So it's hard to know that I mean it when I say how fantastic that was.
Well, Dolly, what do we have next?
Oh, we have a furry friend of ours who is about to become a YouTube star.
All right, so let's go ahead and do some, whoops, right there, and there, and here.
Oh, there we are.
Oh, hold on. I don't think my computer sound is on. Oh no.
Well, while we are waiting for that, I'll tell y'all one of my favorite jokes.
Please do.
What did the snail say while riding on the turtle's back?
What did the snail say while riding on the turtle's back? All right. Let's see if you can hear me now. Now I'm starting to do it. Oh, shoot. Okay. Oh, no. It won't play this way. All right. Hold on one second, y'all. I don't know why, but I feel like I'm going to have to keep talking like this. So you guys are going to get a sneak peek at what looks like the back end of our YouTube channel. Look at that. You will see some videos that you don't get to see.
Well, I can't see anything right now. All I see is Tobias.
Oh, really?
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. That's probably because I'm going to have to switch it again. So let's do this. And here we go. Sorry about that, y'all.
The Face I Love So Dearly by John Clare. Sweet as the violet, the scented pea, haunted by red-legged sable bee, but sweeter far than all to me is she I love so dearly, than perfumed pea and sable bee, the face I loved so dearly. Sweeter than hedgerow violet blue, than apple blossom streaky hue, or black-eyed bean flower blebbled with dew, is she I love so dearly, than apples, flowers, or violets blue, is she I love so dearly. Than woodbine upon branches thin, the clover flower all sweets within, which pensive bees do gather in 3 times as sweet or nearly, is the cheek, the eye, the lip, the chin, of her I love so dearly.
Did Tobias give you blue steel at the end?
He did. He did. He did. And you guys could all hear that clearly, yes?
Yes.
Huzzah. Yes, that's probably our new favorite Tobias video because he actually got into it this round.
He tried to do the blue steel. He doesn't normally take direction as well as Vash, and so I was trying to get it to him. And I actually told him to look at the camera like Vash does, and that's when I got the blue steel.
That was perfect.
So maybe we call it Boo Steel.
Oh,
That was perfect. And the saxophones, it was so good. All right.
Resident queer lady dad loved that one.
And for more pet poetry, visit our YouTube channel, My where not only can you find pet poetry and recordings of this open mic night, but you can also find everything else we do, including McGarfield, popular person problems, and scintillating stories, a story time for grown-ups. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the vision. Speaking of sharing, do you have a cute pet who should be a YouTube star? Please submit a video to producer Ryan at myaloha.tv. Likewise, if you are an author and would like to submit a poem for pet poetry or a story for scintillating stories, please send it to Ghislaine at myaloha.tv. Email addresses can be found spelled out in the chat. And so next up, we have our next performer for the evening. We have a Mr. Denny. And Denny, before you get started, who is your favorite witch?
Well, clearly, by the way, recording, I love it. We're recording here. I'm currently in South Carolina, so I'm very much appreciating the accent here. Stevie Nicks is my favorite current modern white witch, but I've got to go with Medea because she got a bad rap. You know what? Her husband was cheating on her and beating her and doing all the bad things, and he was run off chasing the golden fleece or whatever. Forget it. I would have had a breakdown too. So I'm going to go with Medea.
Yeah, she's definitely a good one to go with.
I agree.
Because if you go against her, forget it.
So what have you have prepared for us tonight?
Tonight, I've got a bit of a reading. It is The Tragedy of Macbeth, Act 4, Scene 1. It may go a scotch over 8 minutes, but we'll find out. Sorry, my dog is trying to jump into the picture again.
Hi, Henry.
A cavern in the middle of a boiling cauldron. Thrice the brinded cat hath mewed, thrice and once the hedge pig whined. Harpier cries, 'tis time, 'tis time. Round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw. Toad that under cold stone, days and nights has 31. Sweltered venom sleeping guts, boil thou first i' the charmed pots. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Fillet of a fenny snake in the cauldron boil and bake. Eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and blindworm's sting, lizard's legs and owlet's wing. For a charm of powerful trouble, like a hellbroth boil and bubble. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf, witch's mummy, maw and gulf. Of the raven, salt sea shark, root of hemlock, digged i' the dark, liver of blaspheming Jew, gall of goats and slips of yew. Silvered in the moon's eclipse, nose of Turk and Tartar's lips, finger of birthed strangled babe, ditch delivered by a drabe, make the gruel thick and slab. Add thereto a tiger's chaldron for the ingredients of our cauldron. Double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Cool it with a baboon's blood, then the charm is firm and good. Oh, well done, I commend your pains, and every one shall share the gains. And now about the cauldron sing, live elves and fairies in a ring, enchanting all that you put in. By the breaking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes. Open locks, whoever knocks. How now, you secret black and midnight hags, what is't you do? A deed without a name. I conjure you by that which you profess, howe'er you come to know it, answer me. Though you untie the winds and let them fight against the churches through the yeasty waves, confound and swallow navigation up, though bladed corn be lodged and trees blown down, though castles topple on the warders' heads, though palaces and pyramids do slope their heads to their foundations, though the treasure of nature's germans tumble all together, even till destruction sicken. Answer me to what I ask you. Speak. Demand. Will answer. Say if thou wouldst rather hear it from our mouths or from our masters. Call him. Let me see him. Pour in sow's blood that hath eaten her 9 fellow grieves that sweeten, from the murder's gibbet throw into the flame. Come high or low, thyself and office deftly slow.
That was fantastic, Danny.
That's the best I've ever seen that performed, and I've entered Shakespeare like contests. That was like my bag as a kid. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was really good. Next up, we have a lovely woman who we have recently become acquainted with, and we really like her a whole lot.
Hey, hold on. I got a question.
Uh-oh.
Yes?
He didn't say who his favorite witch was.
Oh, he did. It was Medea.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Oh, that's all right.
No
I mean, I'm
worries.
also a big fan of Samantha from Bewitched, but
I'll just take my answer now. What? All right.
Anyway,
Yes.
Miss Ruth, are you ready? And who is your favorite witch also?
Well, actually, my favorite witches are a trio from the little town of Eastwick. Cher, Susan Sarandon, and Michelle Pfeiffer as the lovely and fierce witches of Eastwick. I love them.
That is one of my favorite movies. I used to watch it with my mom all the time.
3 women, dear friends, tried to be torn asunder by the devil himself, who instead join forces to defeat him and return to their sisterhood. So those are my witches. So tonight, again, I brought you 2 hula mele. The first one is Hapahauli in English again. And this night, it's about the beautiful island of Maui, hence the pink, and a lovely town on the coastal part of Maui, just below the head of the island, called Lahaina. And so that's the first song. The second one is in Hawaiian, and it's the sassy one, and it's called Papalina Lahi Lahi, which translates to rosy cheeks. And I will give you a little translation of it before I dance it. But first, we're going to take you to the beautiful town of Lahaina in Maui. And with Eli's help, we'll have to fill a little instrumental part with the vocals. So, uh-oh, it went away. Here we go. Oops, wrong direction. Here we go. Oops, sorry. I should give that to Eli to work.
Oh my goodness.
Makes
So
you want to go there.
you'll have to read all those comments. We are all
Oh.
moved.
That was quite good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So this next song is, it's called Papalina Lahi Lahi, which translates as Your Rosy Cheeks. Like many Hawaiian mele, there's a kauna or an underlying meaning that the author may have had, but we don't address that in this hula. Some people do, but we do not. So it translates as, I love you and your dainty cheeks, always dampened by the sea spray. What's the reason for hurrying towards me? You know you are a flower that has been plucked. Freely given from head to toe, why the hurry to possess? I told you before of your dainty cheeks. I'll tell you again, I love you. So there is Papalina Lahi Lahi.
When you're ready.
Okay, play.
Oh, Mama Ruth, that was so amazing. That
sorry. Something else coming up. Oh. That was Darlene Kuna, very famous Hawaiian singer.
that was a real treat.
I'm glad you liked it.
Read the comments. You'll see everybody talking about how much they love it.
Oh, good. Thank you. I will.
Mahalo for joining us. We'd love to have you more often. We could really use more of that happy aloha feel that you give us. It was amazing.
I am thrilled to share it with you. Dancing hula is one of the great joys of my life, probably only secondary to my husband and my children.
Oh. Well, let me put it to you this way. You brought tears of joy, and, you know, I don't get enough of those in 2020, so thank you.
Yeah, that really was a very nice bright light.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Anyway, next up we have Miss Ghislaine. Miss Ghislaine, what is your favorite witch?
Ooh, my favorite witch. Well, I grew up with Samantha Stevens from Bewitched, and while I don't necessarily agree with all of her choices, I feel like why would you let that guy run your life? It just sounds ridiculous. But her powers are phenomenal, and I've always wanted to be able to snap my fingers and just be wherever. Like, you know, forget the TARDIS. I mean, I'll take a TARDIS over if I can't have anything. Of course, you want the TARDIS, but I would take that skill in a heartbeat. Peloponnesian Minute. All right, so I guess it's my turn to bring on the things and the stuff, huh?
Yes, and I hear you have a poem for us.
I certainly do. I actually have 2 poems, but we're going to break it up today because this one's long. All right. So my first poem for you all, it actually has 2 names. It's called either The Broomstick Train or The Return of the Witches by Oliver Wendell Holmes. Look out! Look out, boys! Clear the track! The witches are here. They've all come back. They hanged 'em high. No use, no use. What cares a witch for a hangman's noose? They buried them deep, but they wouldn't lie still, for cats and witches are hard to kill. They swore they shouldn't and wouldn't die. Books said they did, but they lie. They lie. A couple 100 years or so, they had knocked about in the world below, when an Essex deacon dropped in to call, and a homesick feeling seized them all, for he came from a place they knew full well, and many a tale he had to tell. They longed to visit the haunts of men, to see the old dwellings they knew again, and ride on their broomsticks all around their wide domain of unhallowed ground. In Essex County, there's many a roof, well known to him of the cloven hoof. The small square windows are full in view, which the midnight hags went sailing through, on their well-trained broomsticks mounted high, seen like shadows against the sky, crossing the track of owls and bats, hugging before them their coal-black cats. Well, did they know? Those gray old wives, the sights we see in our daily drives, shimmer of lake and shine of sea, Brown's bare hill with its lonely tree. It wasn't then as we see it now, with one scant scalp lock to shade its brow. Dusky nooks in the Essex woods, dark dim Dante like solitudes, where the tree toad watches the sinuous snake glide through his force of fern and brake. Ipswich River, its old stone bridge, far off Andover's Indian Ridge, and many a scene where history tells. Some shadow of bygone terror dwells, of Norman's woe, with its tale of dread, of screeching women of Marblehead, the fearful story that turns men pale. Don't bid me tell it, my speech would fail. Who would not, will not, if he can, bathe in the breezes of fair Cape Anne, rest in the bowers her bays enfold, loved by the Sockhams and squaws of old, home where the white magnolias bloom, sweet with the bayberry's chaste perfume, hugged by the woods and kissed by the sea. Where is the Eden like to thee? For that couple of 100 years or so, there had been no peace in the world below. The witch is still grumbling, it isn't fair, come give us taste of the upper air. We've had enough of your sulphur springs and the evil odor that round them clings. We long for a drink that is cool and nice, great buckets of water with Welham ice. We served you well upstairs, you know. You're a good old fellow. Come, let us go. I don't feel sure of his being good, but he happened to be in a pleasant mood, and fiends with their skins full sometimes are. He's been drinking with roughs at a Boston bar. So what does he do but up and shout To the graybeard turnkey, let them out! To mind his orders was all he knew. The gates swung open and out they flew. Where are our broomsticks? The beldams cried. Here are your broomsticks, an imp replied. They've been in the place you know so long. They smell of brimstone, uncommon strong, but they've gained by being left alone. Just look, you'll see how tall they've grown. And where is my cat? A vixen squalled. Yes, where are our cats? The witches bawled, and began to call them all by name. As fast as they called the cats, they came. There was bob-tailed Tommy and long-tailed Tim, and wall-eyed Jackie and green-eyed Jim, and splay-foot Benny and slim-legged Bo, and Skinny and Squally, and Jerry and Joe, and many another that came at call. It would take too long to count them all. All black. One could hardly tell which was which. But every cat knew his own old witch, and she knew hers as hers knew her. Ah, they curled their tails and purr. No sooner the wicked hags were free than out they swarmed for a midnight spree. I couldn't tell all they did in rhymes, but the Essex people had dreadful times. The Scampscott's fishermen still relate how a strange sea monster stole their bait, how their nets were tangled in loops and knots, and they found dead crabs in their lobster pots. Poor Danvers grieved for her blasted crops, and Wilmington mourned over mildewed hops. A blight played havoc with Beverly beans. It was all the work of those hateful queens. A dreadful panic began at Pride's, where the witches stopped in their midnight rides. And there rose strange rumors and vague alarms mid the peaceful dwellers at Beverly Farms. Now when the boss of the Bedlams found that without his leave they were ramping around, he called. They could hear him 20 miles, from Chelsea Beach to the Misery Isles. The deafest old granny knew his tone, without the trick of the telephone. Come here, you witches, come here, says he, at your games of old without asking me. I'll give you a little job to do that will keep you stirring, you godless crew. They came, of course, at their master's call, the witches, the broomsticks, the cats, and all. He led the hags to a railway train. The horses were trying to drag in vain. Now then, says he, you've had your fun, and here are the cars you've got to run. The driver may just unhitch his team. We don't want horses, we don't want steam. You may keep your old black cats to hug, but the loaded train you've got to lug. Since then, on many a car you'll see a broomstick plain as plain can be. On every stick there's a witch astride. The string you see to her leg is tied. She will do a mischief if she can, but the string is held by a careful man. And whenever the evil-minded witch would cut some caper, he gives a twitch. And as for the hag, you can't see her, but hark, you can hear her black cat's purr. And now and then as a car goes by, you may catch a gleam from her wicked eye. Often you've looked on a rushing train, but just what moved it is not so plain. It couldn't be those wires above, for they could neither pull nor shove. Where was the motor that made it go? You couldn't guess, but now you know. Remember my ribes when you ride again on the rattling rail by the broomstick train.
Oh, well, that was just real good and spooky like. That was.
Thank you. I don't know why, but you're making me do this.
Oh, that was amazing.
All right, what do we have next, Dolly?
So next up we have Mr. Greg Schneider. Mr. Greg Schneider, what is your favorite witch?
Oh, that was a really tough one. We're gonna go from mythology. We're gonna go Circe, turning the men into pigs. But also, I gotta throw in a little Disney witch because I do love the Disney witches, and not the one from the chat, but Magic a Dispel, DuckTales. Anyone? No.
Yes.
Loved it. But tonight we are not doing a witchy song. We're doing a little bit more of a boogeyman kind of song. Some of you have heard this already, but a little encore. We're gonna do the Oogie Boogie song from The Nightmare Before Christmas, just the one. Do I have a Santa for this one?
I'll be your Santa.
You can be my Santa anytime. All right, let me just load things up, make sure we are all connected. All right, here goes nothing. I love songs with a water break at the beginning. Well, 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 what have we here? Santa Claus, huh? Ooh, I'm really scared. So you're the one everybody's been talking about. You're joking. You're joking. I can't believe my eyes. You're joking me. You got to be. This can't be the right guy. He's ancient. He's ugly. I don't know which is worse. I might just split a scene now if I don't die laughing first. Mr. Oogie Boogie says there's trouble close at hand. You better pay attention now, 'cause I'm the boogeyman. And if you aren't shaking, well, something's very wrong. 'Cause this may be the last time you hear the boogie song. Whoa. 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 I'm the Oogie Boogie Man. Well, if I'm feeling antsy and there's nothing much to do, I might just cook a special batch of snake and spider stew. And don't you know one thing that would make it work so nice? A roly-poly Santa Claus to add a little spice. Whoa, oh, yeah, I'm the Oogie Boogie Man.
Release me fast, or you shall have to answer to this heinous act.
Children are expecting me. Please come to your senses. Aw, you're joking! You're joking! I can't believe my ears. Would someone shut this fella up? I'm drowning in my tears. It's funny, I'm laughing. You really are too much. And now, with your permission, I'm gonna do my stuff. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna do the best I can. Ooh. Yeah! Oh, the sound of rolling dice to me is music in the air. 'Cause I'm a gambling boogeyman, although I don't play fair. It's much more fun, I must confess, when lives are on the line. Not mine are calls, but yours, oh boy, now that'll be just fine.
Release me fast, or you will have to answer.
Oh, brother, you're something. You put me in a spin. You aren't comprehending the position that you're in. It's hopeless. You're finished. You haven't got a prayer. 'Cause I'm Mr. Oogie Boogie. And you ain't going nowhere.
Oh, that was so good.
Wow, you are so good, Greg.
Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't find. I was trying to scroll through the script. I'm like, scroll, and then I'm like, wait, did I pass it? Oh no, and then it's my part. Dang it.
No worries. We can't count on Santa.
No.
You know, it's all about the witches, all about the magic. Santa, it's fine. We didn't need him. Thank you.
No, thank you, and happy belated birthday, my dear.
Oh, thank you so much. You've already wished it, but you can wish it again. Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful way to kind of end a kind of weird birthday week.
Thank you, Greg. So next up, we have another person who's going to tell us another story, I believe. We have Beth Stockton. And Beth Stockton, what is your favorite witch?
Okay, so I have two favorite witches, but
One of them is Miss Eglantine Price from Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Little fuzz bite.
I love her. But
Mama.
also the other one is a warlock. It would be the Grand Witch from The Worst Witch, who sings Anything Can Happen by Halloween, played by the amazing Tim Curry. That would have to be my favorite witch of all time, to be honest with you.
All things Tim Curry.
And he has a tambourine, because... Okay, so... I'm going to tell you a story about me as a teenager. I've kind of told you stories about me as a teenager before. I'm sorry if I'm crude or offensive. I'll try not to be, but I might say the F word and stuff like that. But anyway,
You
there's
tell
a little
that
bit of
story
wisdom
in
today.
your truest form.
Okay, it's going to be fun. It'll be great. So, so when I was a teenager, people used to say that I was 14 going on 40. Now it's kind of the opposite, but I spent most of my time on my own. I was an only child, and at first my only friends were the
Good for them.
Hi, who's talking?
Don't worry, I fixed
Someone's
it.
talking to me. Okay, anyway. So at first my only friends were the loser crowd, soon to be the stoner crowd, clique from junior high, and we were what was called heshers. Now, some of you might be too young and some of you might be too old to know what heshers are, but heshers are heavy metal heads. So we used to wear all black with flannel, and we never brushed our hair, and I always looked like I just woke up. So one of my nicknames was Janice. That was my real nickname in high school. Like, hey, man, I just woke up, man. Also, I really needed glasses badly, but I refused to wear my glasses unless I was in class. Now, I used to have these big Sally Jesse Raphael glasses. Like nowadays, they'd be in style. And in fact, I wear ones like that now. But back then, they were like the social kiss of death. You were not wearing glasses. Taking off your glasses and suddenly becoming beautiful was like a real thing in teen movies. So I could not be seen wearing glasses even though I needed them to see the chalkboard. So my friends would always get mad at me, like, why didn't you say hi to me when I waved to you in the hall? And I'm like, because I walked through the halls legally blind, man. I always look lost, and as most freshmen in high school, where I was a pretty lost kid in general. So even though I was a master of heroin chic with the flannels and everything, I was actually 100% sober throughout high school, and I used to look down on any of the kids that actually partied. So this is probably why I fell in with my new crowd quite nicely, and they were the Jesus Freak choir kids. They were my people. The day I chose choir as my elective was a fateful one. The show Glee sadly hits home for me. Of all the Glee kids, I think I was probably most like Leia Michelle's character, except like at the start of the show when she's completely self-centered and has like no game, but a strange belief that she's just waiting for her big break into stardom, like little Barbara Streisand hiding inside this like Hesher body. And the choir kids, they were not cool, but yeah, they weren't even as cool as the band kids. Like the band kids got to go to the games, but we were lamer than them. So social spectrum, kind of the bottom, but we had each other. We loved each other. And our teacher's name was Mr. Wiles. And he used to teach choir. He'd been teaching choir at our school for over 40 years. So he was this like kind of balding, roly-poly Irishman who mumbled and turned bright red a lot when he was agitated, which was a lot because high school kids are horrible, horrible people. And he used to say, and so forth, at the end of every sentence. So we used to like keep tallies of how many times he would tell you a story and so forth. And it was hundreds of times. And we used to, his nickname, I'm sorry, everyone. His nickname was Mr. Wiles Vagina Smiles. I don't know where that came from, but we used to, if we got in trouble, we get sent to the back room, which is where all the music books were. And this is the first time that I've ever seen an actual bookworm was inside these books. They were so old. And it was like crumbling into dust. This music was so old. And so one day in high school, I always have to talk about how terrible of a person I was in high school. One day in high school, I graffitied Mr. Wild's Vagina Smiles on the back of the door. Very small, very tiny, you could barely see it, but I knew it was there. And then I actually went back to my choir room a few years ago, and it is still there. Even though he doesn't teach there anymore, it is still there. Yeah, my mom's probably real proud. So there's a lot of pressure on us to love Jesus. And I'd say like my high school is 80% Mormon. So people used to there were rumors that the seniors would take weekend trips to Vegas to get married and have sex and then get the marriage annulled and come back. But I don't think those were true. But a lot of my friends couldn't have caffeine and they couldn't go see R-rated movies. And I think that's just as bad as not being able to bone, to be honest with you. A lot of them went on missions and they sent me awesome postcards. And one time I saw my friend trying to tuck her temple underwear into her bathing suit. So I was learning lots of things about religion. I was brought up in a non-religious household. So it's because both of my parents were brought up in very strict religious households and they both hated it. So my mom she told me she wasn't allowed to wear patent leather shoes in school because the boys would look in the shoes to see the reflection of their underwear. And I don't think that actually works, but they still weren't allowed to wear patent leather shoes. I mean, you'd have to have the most amazing eyes. But my dad said that the boys put mirrors on their shoes, which I think is way more likely. And my dad is obviously a terrible person too, because I think he did that. Anyway, a lot of my Christian friends would take me to church with them, and they weren't trying to convert me or anything. They just loved to go to church, so they wanted me to be part of it. And they probably felt like my miserable all black wearing person, I needed guidance or something, which was true for every high school student. So my parents told me that I could pick whatever religion I wanted, which is cool, very cool. My friends really wanted to help me out. So I went to some Calvary churches and they had like a rock band and it was awesome. I knew like Amy Grant. I didn't know she had more than one song than Baby, Baby, but she actually has she's a huge Christian rock star. And then like my favorite song was Our God is an awesome God, he reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. There's a little Jack Black for you, but I love that song. Anyway, so I didn't have a lot of Jewish friends, but I did go to temple a handful of times. And the problem is I didn't understand the language, so I didn't love singing as much. But I did love singing in Jesus Church all the time, especially because I could show off and like sight read. Hey, I can sing the alto part on the sheet music and blah. I always, no matter where I was, had a meaningful experience when I was praying. Even when we were at like the Calvary Church and we all just stand in a circle and hold hands and pray, even then it was very spiritual for me. I still believe this. I think that there is something greater. I just don't think that human beings can comprehend exactly what it is. So let me tell you about my favorite religious experiences of high school, which is where I found the closest to an actual religion that I subscribe to. Now here's where we get into the witchy part. It is not Satanism, although I did try Satanism and I couldn't figure out how to get like my record player to play anything backwards. So I couldn't do that, but I bought a copy of the Satanic Bible at Walden Books and I read some verses aloud in kind of like an Evil Dead, I dare you to possess me kind of way, and nothing happened. So I did not summon a demon. I was really disappointed, and I was relieved, and I realized that Satanism was, you know, or at least my vision of it was kind of BS. Now I know what Satanism actually is, but back then Satanism equals the Necronomicon. So anyway, so, oh yeah, and I remember like in Walden Books, or next door there was a Christian bookstore, and they had warning signs that your child might be becoming a Satanist. And one of the things on the list was D&D. Oh my God, you might be, and tarot cards. Yes. Oh my God. So, and I actually used to carry tarot cards around with me. So yeah. So anyway, I had these tarot cards on me, and through these tarot cards, I made my amazing gay, but not out of the closet best friend. I made him as he was my best friend in choir. He was not involved with Jesus. He actually came out to me that he was a Wiccan. So he was only happy to be my initiator into the worship of nature. And our gateway drug was the Renaissance Fair. And we used to go into the Psychic Eye bookshop, and we bought crystals and candles shaped like phalluses, and oil mixtures with little herbs and twigs on the bottom called Q. And that was like supposed to be an aphrodisiac, but really it just smelled like patchouli stink, and I love patchouli stink, so I just bought it. And this is way before the craft, and we were way more naked, or skyclad, as we call it. So anyway, my studies in Wicca made me feel as close to being part of the existing world as a loner like me could ever be. I felt spiritually connected to everything. I love that we had our own private little altar and incense and a chalice and a dagger. I mean, how badass. You get to have a dagger, and we would create a protective circle nothing could cross into. And I love all these chants that we used to sing, like, okay. We all come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean. Yeah, we used to sing that. I think that's just as cool as a church song. I loved the shitty, fruity ritual wine. I loved everything. I loved going outside to worship surrounded by trees, grass, leaves. And as a baby feminist, I loved that we worship the goddess and not God, because I was really and yeah, I really loved that. I love the idea that anything you did would come back threefold onto you. And I still kind of believe that. And most of all, I love the feeling that we were being really naughty. Like if you picture like Circe Nightshade and Azrael Abyss from SNL, if you remember that old skit, that was us. But in case you're curious, I did try to cast a spell, or I cast a bunch of spells actually, but this was one that I did a couple of times. My specialty was love spells because I was boy crazy, because hello, I'm a teenager. And here is an actual spell that I cast. To attract a lover. So the supplies you need are a gold ring, traditionally your mother's wedding ring. Yes, I borrowed my mother's engagement ring to do this spell, and I should have been disowned. Okay, number 1, a ring. Number 2, a length of red ribbon. Number 3, a crystal wine glass. The spell: set the wine glass in the center of a small table. Now I used the toilet, because that was the only place I had privacy, right? The bathroom. Thread the ribbon through the gold ring and tie the ends together. Sit at the table and suspend the ring inside the wine glass, holding it as still as you can. In a loud, clear voice, say your own name, then say the name of the person you wish to attract, allowing the ring to swing from side to side inside the glass, clinking against the glass once for every letter in your target's name. Then you recite the following: love to me, be it ever so true, love come to me, and be it you. For I summon forth mine heart's desire, that they feel my love afire. Then you're supposed to wear the ribbon around your neck with the ring hanging on your chest over your heart. Do this for 3 weeks without removing the necklace, except to perform the following step. Repeat the ceremony every Friday during these 3 weeks. At the end of 3 weeks, your love will seek you out without fail. By the way, the spell totally worked both times I did it. And my friend and I did get caught by the police once while we were practicing. It was in the middle of the night. It was in the wooded park area behind my house. Thankfully, we had all of our clothes on, and my buddy did not have his customary ritual weed on him, on his person. But the cops took away all of our ritual artifacts, and they took away my book of spells and my dagger and chalice, which I spent my whole allowance on. I had the cat. They took it away. And I'd say, like, when we got caught, we had to own up to our parents, and I couldn't scrape the money together to buy any more of those things that my Wiccan exploration was at an end, but I still have fond memories of it. And I moved on, found some new gods, which were musical theater and creative writing. And I have one. Oh, wait, no, I can't do it. I was supposed to read something, but I don't know where the heck I put it. But anyway, I think I've gone over. So I just want to let you know, thank you for listening to my story. So mote it be.
So that's just so you know, she can do spells that work, which means that nobody crossed Beth's path, because if she can do that, I don't want to find out what else she can do. And I love you. Did I tell you you're beautiful and talented? What do we have next? And actually, I do mean that, but I wanted to be funny too. So what do we have next, Dolly?
Oh, next up, we have another friend of mine. We have Eli Quake. Eli, what is your favorite witch, and what do you have for us afterwards?
My favorite witch, I'm going to go with Morgan Le Fay from the original King Arthur, because depending upon who was writing the story, she was a very different creature. She could have been a mischievous, horrible witch, or she could have been a good witch who was helpful to King Arthur and told him about all of the things that were going on between Lancelot and Guinevere. It depended upon who was writing the story, and I loved Morgan Le Fay. And today I'm going to be doing two songs for you. I'm going to be doing Donovan's Season of the Witch, and then I wrote a song myself, and I'll be doing that one second. So let's start with some Donovan. When I look out my window, so many sights to see. And when I look in my window, so many different people to be. And it's strange, so strange. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. Must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch, yeah. Must be the season of the witch. When I look over my shoulder, what do you think I see? Someone kept looking over his shoulder at me. And he's strange, sure is strange. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch, yeah. Beatniks are out to make it rich. Oh no, must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch, yeah. Must be the season of the witch. You got to pick up every stitch. White rabbit running in the ditch. Beatniks are out to make it rich. Oh no, must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch, yeah. Must be the season of the witch. When I go, when I look out my window, what do you think I see? And when I look in my window, so many different people to be. And it's strange, sure is strange. You got to pick up every stitch. White rabbit running in the ditch. Beatniks are out to make it rich. Oh no, must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch, yeah. Must be the season of the witch. When I go, when I go. Wait, stop. There.
Woo, that was amazing.
Thank you very much. And then
before you go on, I know you're going to read these comments after, but I just want you to know that you just transported us all to London, even those of us who've never been there. And we were all drinking Guinness and eating fish and chips and taking in it. And I don't know about anyone else, but it was definitely evening time.
Yeah.
It was the 60s. And it was the 60s. Yes, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you for that. What do you have else? What else do you have for us?
I have a short song that I wrote just this week. It is called 3 Times True, and it's a bit witchy.
All right. Wait, I've got the wrong note there. There we go. Sorry about that. Let me try that one more time. Three times true, as the old ones say. 3 times sad as the light dies away.
this heaven or hell? 3 times true, as the old ones say. 3 times done by the light of day. Fickle friends, a suspicious mind, do not seek, you will always find. Let me sing you a spell. Is this heaven or hell? 3 times true, as the old ones say. I did not speak, I just went away. I sang songs on the hanging tree as they tied that noose on me. Let me sing you a spell. Where is heaven or hell? Hopes and dreams come here to die as I sing my lullaby. I'm still at the hanging tree. Can anybody hear me?
Thank you so much, Eli. That was really lovely. So was the other one. They were all good. So next up, we have producer Ryan. Producer Ryan, you are next. But first, who is your favorite witch? Producer Ryan.
My favorite witch. I think I'm going to have to go with the Witch King of Agamar, first of the Naguls, the Black Captain.
Sounds like a good one. What do you have for us tonight?
Yeah, he was actually, I read Lord of the Rings pretty early, and he was really the first witch that I remember being introduced to. And tonight, keeping with the witchy theme, I am going back to Grimm's fairy tales, and we're going to do Hansel and Gretel, the original published version, which is certainly not the original version because the brothers Grimm got their stories from everywhere, as far as I know. And so without further ado, Hansel and Gretel by Jacob Ludwig Grimm and Wilhelm Karl Grimm, published in 1812. Near a great forest where they lived, a poor woodcutter and his wife and his 2 children. The boy's name was Hansel, and the girl's name was Gretel. They had very little to bite or to sup, and once, when there was a great dearth in the land, the man could not even gain the daily bread. As he lay in bed one night thinking of this and turning and tossing, he sighed heavily and said to his wife, "What will become of us? We cannot even feed our children. There is nothing left for ourselves." "I will tell you what, husband," answered the wife. "We will take the children early in the morning into the forest where it is thickest. We will make them a fire, and we will give them each a piece of bread, and we will go to our work and leave them alone, and they will never find their way home again, and we shall be quit of them." "No, wife," said the man, I cannot do that. I cannot find it in my heart to take my children into the forest and to leave them there alone. The wild animals would soon come and devour them. Oh, you fools, she said. Then we all four will starve, and you better get the coffins ready. And she left him no peace until he consented. But I really pity the children, said the man. The two children had not been able to sleep for hunger, and had heard what their stepmother had said to their father. Gretel wept bitterly, and said to Hansel, "It is all over with us." "Do be quiet, Gretel," said Hansel, "and do not fret. I will manage something." When their parents had gone to sleep, he got up and put on his little coat, opened the back door, and slipped out. The moon was shining brightly, and the white flints that lay right in the front yard of the house glistened like pieces of silver. Hansel stooped and filled the pocket of his coat as full as it would hold, and then he went back again and said to Gretel, "Be easy, dear little sister, and go to sleep quietly. God will not forsake us." And he laid himself down in his bed. When the day was breaking, and before the sun had risen, the wife came and wakened the two children, saying, "Get up, you lazy bones. We're going to the forest to cut wood." And she gave each of them a piece of bread and said, "That is for your dinner, and you must not eat it before then, for you will get no more." Gretel carried the bread in her apron, for Hansel had his pockets full of the flints. They set off together their way in the forest, and when they had gone a little way, Hansel stood and looked back towards the house, and this he did again and again, until his father said to him, "Hansel, what are you doing? Take care not to forget your legs." "Oh, father," said Hansel, "I'm looking for my little white kitten who is sitting on the roof to bid me goodbye." "You young fool," said the woman, "that is not your kitten, but the sunshine on the chimney pot." Of course, Hansel was not looking at the kitten, but had been taking every now and then a flint from his pocket and dropping it on the road. When they reached the middle of the forest, the father told the children to collect wood to make a fire to keep them warm, and Hansel and Gretel gathered brushwood enough for a little mountain, and when it was set on fire, when the flame was burning quite high, the wife said, "Now lay down by the fire and rest yourselves, you children, and we will go and cut wood, and when we are ready, we will come and fetch you." And so Hansel and Gretel sat by the fire, and at noon each of them ate their pieces of bread. They thought their father was in the wood all the time because they seemed to hear strokes of an axe, but really it was only a dried branch hanging from a withered tree that the wind moved to and fro. So when they stayed there a long time, their eyelids closed with weariness, and they fell fast asleep. When they awoke, it was night, and Gretel began to cry and said, "How shall we ever get out of these woods?" But Hansel comforted her, saying, "Wait a little longer until the moon rises, and then we can easily find our way home." And when the full moon got up, Hansel took his little sister by the hand and followed the way where the flintstones shone like silver and showed them the road. They walked the whole night through, and at the break of day they came to their father's house. They knocked at the door, and when the wife opened it and saw that it was Hansel and Gretel, she said to them, "You naughty children, why did you sleep so long in the woods? We thought you were never coming home again." But the father was glad, for it had gone to his heart to leave them both in the woods alone. Not very long after that, there was again a great scarcity in these parts, and the children heard their mother at night in the bed say to their father, "Everything is finished up. We only have half a loaf, and after that, the tale comes to an end. The children must be off. We must take them further into woods this time, so that they shall never be able to make their way back again. There's no other ways to manage." The man felt sad at heart, and he thought, it would be better to share one's last morsel with one's children. But the wife would listen to nothing he had to say, and scolded and reproached him. He who says A must be B too, and when a man is given in once, he has to do it a second time. But the children were not asleep and had heard all the talk. And when the parents had gone to sleep, Hansel got up to go out and get more of the flintstones, as he did before. But the wife had locked the door, and Hansel could not get out. But he comforted his little sister and said, "Don't cry, Gretel, and go to sleep quietly. God will help us." The next morning, the wife came out and pulled the children out of bed. She gave them each a little piece of bread, less than before, and on the way out to the woods, Hansel crumbled the bread in his pocket and stopped often to throw a crumb on the ground. "Hansel, what are you doing? And what are you staring for?" said the father. "I'm looking for my little pigeon sitting on the roof to say goodbye to me," answered Hansel. You fool, said the wife, that is no pigeon, but that is but the morning sun shining off the chimney pots. And Hansel went out as before, stewed breadcrumbs all along the road. As before, they were led deep into the woods, farther this time where they had never been in all their lives. And again there was a large fire, and again the mother said, sit, and when you are tired, go to sleep, and we will go off, and in the evening come and fetch you. So when noon came, Gretel shared her bread with Hansel, who had strewed his all along the road. And then they went to sleep, and the evening passed, for no one came for the poor children, and when they awoke, it was again the dark of night. And Hansel comforted his little sister and said, wait, Gretel, when the moon comes up, we shall be able to see the way home by the crumbs of bread I have scattered. The moon arose when they got up, but they could find no crumbs of bread, for the birds of the woods and the fields had come and picked them up. Hansel thought they might find their way all the same, but they could not. They went all that night and all the next day into the evening, but they could not find their way out of the woods. And they were very hungry, for they had had nothing to eat but a few berries they could pick up. And when they were so tired they could no longer drag themselves along, they lay down under a tree and fell asleep. And now it was the third morning since they left their father's house. They were always trying to get back to it, but instead they only found themselves farther and farther in the wood, and if help had not come soon, they would have starved. About noon, they saw a snow-white bird sitting upon a bough and singing so sweetly they stopped to listen. And when he had finished his song, the bird spread his wings and flew before them, and they followed him until they came to a little house. And the birds perched on the roof. And when they came nearer, they saw the house was built of bread, and it was roofed with cakes, and the window was made of transparent sugar. We shall have some of this, and it will make a fine meal, said Hansel. I will eat a piece of the roof. Gretel, you have some of the window. It will taste sweet. And so Hansel reached up and took off a bit of the roof just to see how it tasted. And Gretel stood by the window and gnawed at it. And when they heard a thin voice come from inside, nibble, nibble like a mouse. Who is nibbling on my house? And the children answered, never you mind, it's the wind. And they went on eating, never disturbing themselves. Hansel, who took a piece of the roof, and it tasted very nice, took down a great piece of it. And Gretel pulled out a large round window pane and sat her down and began upon it. And then the door opened, and an aged woman came out leaning upon a crutch. Hansel and Gretel felt very frightened and let fall what they had in their hand. The old woman, however, nodded to them and said, oh, my dear children, how have you come here? You must come indoors. Stay with me. You will be in no trouble. And so she took them each by the hand and led them into her little house. And they found a good meal laid out of milk and pancakes with sugar, apples and nuts. And she showed them 2 little beds. And Hansel and Gretel laid themselves down upon them, and they thought they were in heaven. The old woman, although her behavior was kind, was a wicked witch who lay in wait for children, who had built this little house on purpose to entice them. Once they were inside, she used it to kill them, to cook them, to eat them, and then it was feast day for her. The witch's eyes were red, and she could not see very far, but she had a keen scent, and like the beasts, knew very well when human creatures were near. She knew that Hansel and Gretel were coming, and she gave a spiteful laugh and said triumphantly, I have them, and they shall not escape me. Early in the morning, late out before the children woke, she got up to look at them as they lay sleeping so peacefully with round rosy cheeks, and she said to herself, what a fine feast I shall have. And then she grasped Hansel with her withered hands and led him to the little stable and shut him in behind a grating to call and scream as he might, but it was no good. And then she went back to Gretel and shook her, crying, get up, lazy bones, fetch water and cook something nice for your brother. He is outside in the stable and must be fattened up. And when he is fat enough, I will eat him. Gretel began to weep bitterly, but it was no use. What could she do but what the wicked witch bade her? And so the best kinds of meals were cooked for poor Hansel, and while Gretel got nothing but crab shells. Each morning, the woman visited the little stable and cried, Hansel, stick out your finger so that I may tell if you're fat enough. Hansel, however, used to hold out an old little bone, and the old woman, who had weak eyes and could not see what it was, and was supposing it was Hansel's finger, wondered very much why he was not getting fatter. 4 weeks passed, and Hansel remained so thin she lost patience and could no longer wait. "Now, Gretel," she cried to the little girl, "be quick and draw water. Hansel, fat or be he lean, tomorrow I must kill and cook him." And what grief the poor little sister, to have to fetch the water, and how the tears flowed down her cheeks. "Dear God, pray help us," she cried. "If we are to be devoured by wild beasts in the woods, at least we should have died together." "Spare me your lamentations," said the old woman. "They are of no avail." Early the next morning, Gretel had to get up, make the fire, and fill the kettle. "First, we will do the baking. I have heated the oven already and kneaded the dough." She pushed poor Gretel towards the oven, out of which flames were already shining. "Creep in," said the witch, "and see if it is properly hot, so the bread may be baked." Gretel once in, she meant to shut the door behind her, let her be baked, and she would have eaten her. But Gretel perceived her intentions and said, "I don't know how to do it. Can you help me get in?" "Stupid goose!" cried the old woman. "The opening is big enough, do you not see? I could get in myself." And she stooped down and put her head into the oven's mouth. And then Gretel gave her a push, and she went in further, and she shut the iron grate behind her and put up the bar. And oh, how frightfully she howled! But Gretel ran away and left the wicked witch to burn miserably. Gretel went straight to Hansel and opened the stable door and cried, "Hansel, we're free! The old witch is dead!" Out flew Hansel like a bird from his cage as soon as the door was open, and how rejoiced they both were! They fell into each other's arms and danced about and kissed each other. And as they had nothing more to fear, they went over the whole of the old witch's house, and in every corner there stood chests of pearls and precious stones. "This is something better than Flintstones," said Hansel as he filled his pockets. And Gretel, thinking she would carry something home with her as well, filled her apron full. "And now we must go," said Hansel. "If we could only get out of the witch's woods." And they had journeyed only a few hours when they came to a great piece of water. "We can never get across this," said Hansel. "I see no stepping stones nor a bridge, and there is no boat either," said Gretel. "But here comes a white duck, and if I ask her, she will help us over." And so she cried, "Duck, duck, here we stand, Hansel and Gretel on the land. Stepping stones and bridge we lack. Carry us over on your nice white back." And the duck came accordingly, and Hansel got upon her, and his sister came too. And Gretel, "No," answered Gretel, "that would be too hard upon the duck. We can go separately, one after the other." And so it was managed. And after that they went happily, and until then they came into the woods. And it grew more and more familiar, until at last they saw in the distance their father's house. They ran to it until they came with it and fell upon their father's arms. The man had not had a quiet hour since he left his children in the woods, but the wife was dead. And when Gretel opened her apron, pearls and precious stones were scattered upon the room, and Hansel took one handful after another out of his pockets. And then all care was at an end, and they lived in great joy together. Sing, everyone, my story is done, and look around the house, there runs a little mouse. And he can catch her before she scampers in May. And he who catches her before she scampers in may make a fur cap out of her skin. The end.
Woo!
Wow.
That was awesome.
That was so
You need to go and read all of these comments, Lovey.
Oh, thank you.
They love you.
That was really good. We should have more. We should definitely have story time with producer Ryan. Bedtime story time with producer Ryan. You could put everybody to sleep. But,
oh, damn.
Wait.
That was harsh.
Man.
I was gonna say, that's probably in a good way, though.
Yes. I'm just saying we all would really, really like to have bedtime stories with producer Ryan, like that one.
She meant that the smooth tones that come out of that beautiful mouth of yours relax us to the point that we would like to sleep in
That's
the
what I said.
basking in the glory of the story.
Don't worry, I'm an actor. I've already made it into a compliment.
Okay.
Yeah. Totally super, man. That was awesome.
Oh, very good. So next up on our agenda of awesomeness is Miss Chrissy Mackey. Chrissy, who is your favorite witch and what do you have for us tonight?
My favorite witch is my favorite witch is Agnes Sampson. I don't know if you guys know her story, but she was a Scottish witch in the 1500s during the height of the witch hunt craze, and she was accused of being a witch because she admitted that she did a spell that drowned this woman. And so what they did was they arrested her and tortured her and shaved her completely head to toe, and they found a witch's mark and they set her on fire for it, and she stood in the window naked and laughed. It's an awesome story. But she was truly a woman who had nothing left to give or lose or anything like that. And she just was like, yeah, sure, okay, fine, accuse me of witchcraft, I don't care, I'm your healer. So good luck surviving all the diseases that are out there. But anyway, I learned about her when I went to Scotland, and it was just one of the most awesome stories. Her ghost still haunts that particular window too, so it's really cool. I'm going to read a story for you this evening. It is my favorite Edgar Allan Poe story, well, one of my favorite Edgar Allan Poe stories. And it's a short one, and it is not necessarily a well-known one, although I think there are a few of you who have heard me read this one before, I'm not sure. It's called Silence, a Fable. Listen to me, said the demon as he placed his hand upon my head. There is a spot upon this accursed earth which thou hast never yet beheld, and if by any chance thou hast beheld it, it must have been in one of those vigorous dreams which come like the simoon upon the brain of the sleeper who hath lain down to sleep among the forbidden sunbeams. Among the sunbeams, I say, which slide from off the solemn columns of the melancholy temples in the wilderness. The region of which I speak is a dreary region in Libya by the borders of the river Zaire. And there is no quiet there, nor silence. The waters of the river have a saffron and sickly hue, and they flow not onwards to the sea, but palpitate forever and forever beneath the red eye of the sun with a tumultuous and convulsive motion. For many miles on either side of the river's oozy bed is a pale desert of gigantic water lilies. They sigh one unto the other in that solitude and stretch towards the heaven their long, ghastly necks and nod to and fro their everlasting heads. And there is an indistinct murmur which cometh out from among them like the rushing of subterranean water. And they sigh one unto the other. But there is a boundary to their realm, the boundary of the dark, horrible, lofty forest. There, like the waves about the Hebrides, the low underwood is agitated continually. But there is no wind throughout the heaven, and the tall primeval trees rock eternally hither and thither with their crashing and mighty sound. And from their summits, one by one, drop everlasting dews. And at the roots, strange poisonous flowers lie writhing in perturbed slumber. And overhead, with a rustling and a loud noise, the gray clouds rush westwardly forever, until they roll, a cataract, over the fiery wall of the horizon. But there is no wind throughout the heaven, and by the shores of the river Zaire, there is neither quiet nor silence. It was night, and the rain fell, and falling, it was rain. But having fallen, it was blood. And I stood in the morass among the tall lilies, and the rain fell upon my head, and the lilies sighed one unto the other in the solemnity of their desolation. And all at once the moon arose through the thin and ghastly mist, and was crimson in color. And mine eyes fell upon a huge gray rock, which stood in the shore of the river, and was litten by the light of the moon. And the rock was gray and ghastly and tall. And the rock was gray. Upon its front were characters engraved in the stone, and I walked through the morass of the water lilies until I came close to the shore, that I might read the characters upon the stone. But I could not decipher the characters. And I was going back into the morass when the moon shone with a fuller red, and I turned and looked again upon the rock and upon the characters, and the characters were desolation. And I looked upwards, and there stood a man upon the summit of the rock, and I hid myself among the water lilies that I might discover the actions of the man. And the man was tall and stately in form, and was wrapped up from his shoulders to his feet in the toga of old Rome. And the outlines of his figure were indistinct, but his features were the features of a deity. For the mantle of the night, and of the mists, and of the moon, and of the dew had left uncovered the features of his face. And his brow was lofty with thought, and his eye wild with care. And in the few furrows upon his cheek, I read the fables of sorrow and weariness and disgust with mankind and a longing for solitude. And the moon shone upon his face and upon the features of his face, and oh, they were more beautiful than the airy dreams which hovered about the souls of the daughters of Delos. And the man sat down upon the rock and leaned his head upon his hand and looked out upon the desolation. He looked down into the low, unquiet shrubbery and up into the tall primeval trees and up higher at the rustling heaven and into the crimson moon. And I lay close within the shelter of the water lilies and observed the actions of the man. And the man trembled in the solitude. But the night waned, and he sat upon the rock. And the man turned his attention from the heaven and looked out upon the dreary river Zaire, and upon the yellow, ghastly waters, and upon the legions of the water lilies. And the man listened to the sighs of the water lilies, and of the murmur that came up from among them. And I lay close within my covert, and observed the actions of the man. And the man trembled in the solitude. But the night waned, and he sat upon the rock. Then I went down into the recesses of the morass, and waded afar in among the wilderness of the lilies, and called upon the hippopotami which dwelt in the fens and the recesses of the morass. And the hippopotami heard my call, and came with the behemoth unto the foot of the rock, and roared loudly and fearfully beneath the moon. And I lay close within my covert, and observed the actions of the man. And the man trembled in the solitude. But the night waned, and he sat upon the rock. Then I cursed the elements with the curse of tumult, and a frightful tempest gathered in the heavens where before there had been no wind. And the heaven became livid with the violence of the tempest, and the rain beat down upon the man, and the floods of the river came down, and the river was tormented into foam, and the water lilies shrieked within their beds, and the forest crumbled before the wind, and the thunder rolled, and the lightning fell, and the rock rocked to its foundation. and I lay close within my covert and observed the actions of the man. And the man trembled in the solitude, but the night waned, and he sat upon the rock. Then I grew angry and cursed with the curse of silence. The river and the lilies and the wind and the forest and the heavens and the thunder and the sighs of the water lilies, and they became accursed and were still. And the moon ceased to totter in its pathway up the heaven, and the thunder died away, and the lightning did not flash, and the clouds hung motionless, and the waters sunk to their level and remained, and the trees ceased to rock, and the water lilies sighed no more, and the murmur was heard no longer from among them, nor any shadow of sound throughout the vast, illimitable desert. And I looked upon the characters of the rock, and they were changed, and the characters were silence. And mine eyes fell upon the countenance of the man, and his countenance was wan with terror. And hurriedly he raised his head from his hand and stood forth upon the rock and listened. But there was no voice throughout the vast, illimitable desert, and the characters upon the rock were silence. And the man shuddered and turned his face away and fled afar off, and I beheld him no more. Now, there are fine tales in the volumes of the Magi, the iron-bound, melancholy volumes of the Magi. Therein, I say, are glorious histories of heaven and of earth and of the mighty sea and of the genii that overruled the sea and the earth and the lofty heaven. There was much lore, too, in the sayings which were said by the Sibyls, and holy, holy things were heard of old by the dim leaves that trembled around Dodona. But as Allah liveth, that fable which the demon told me as he sat by my side in the shadow of the tomb, I hold to be the most wonderful of all. And as the demon made an end of his story, he fell back within the cavity of the tomb and laughed. And I could not laugh with the demon. And he cursed me because I could not laugh. And the lynx, which dwelleth forever in the tomb, came out therefrom and lay down at the feet of the demon and looked him steadily in the face.
Oh, that scared me. Don't look at me in the face like that again.
Oh, it had my blood all a tingling, is what it did.
It's amazing, Chrissy.
So next
Thank you.
up, yeah, oh, that was great. So next up, we have Matthias Hackinson. Tell us, Matthias, who is your favorite witch, and what do you have for us tonight?
Thank you. Favorite witch. Kind of hard to choose just one, but I would have to say good old Baba Yaga. That's a witch from Finnish and Russian folklore. And she lives in a wooden shack that is up on two enormous chicken legs. So her house can walk around the forest. And I mean, who doesn't love a house on chicken legs? You just walk around. And she flies by getting in her cauldron, and she just paddles the air. And it's like an airboat. So I think that's a really fascinating method of travel. And she is not always good and not always bad, and she's at her worst when she's trying her best. And when she tries to kill you, she ends up making you more powerful, or you're invincible to frost, or some silly side effect that, you can turn invisible on the third Thursday of every month, or something completely random. The stories are wacky with Baba Yaga. So it kind of depends on the author and the culture and the time period. You know, she gets creepier in the 1600s, but in the earlier writings, she's much more kind of random, not necessarily evil, but just kind of random.
She's definitely a favorite of mine too. So I'm so glad you brought her up. What do you have for us tonight?
Well, from the most southern extreme south of Russia, this kind of music would have been heard by people. This is a gypsy tune I wrote called Kish Drepani Navy, which is silk and fresh spring water. And it's got a very Hungarian feel to it, and the Russians would have taken this music and ran with it as well. So this has roots all the way down in Constantinople, which is how Russia got rich, by the way.
That was absolutely fantastic and wonderful, Matthias.
Hey, thank you.
Did you have another one for us tonight, or did you just have the one?
Oh, that's the only thing I was really gonna do tonight. Thank you. That's long enough. Thanks.
Oh, that's fine. That was really nice. We have some lovely comments for you in the chat. And it's always a pleasure to have you. Once again, I sound so polite that it sounds like I'm not serious, but I really am serious. It's always
Thank
wonderful to
you.
have you. We love hearing you and all the wonderful things that you come up with. It's really great.
I got a lot of catching up. Thank you.
And so next up, after Matthias, we have Ghislaine again. Ghislaine, what do you have for us next? Ghislaine?
I think Ghislaine may have stepped away for a moment.
Oh, that's okay. Do you have a bad dad joke for us?
I've got a bad dad joke. I was just going to offer one up. Well, you know, you're making me want to talk like this now. I grew up with a witch, and, you know, she's been a witch her whole life, and I love her. I respect her. But she recently gave up fortune telling, which I think is a shame. But, you know, she didn't see any future in it.
Oh, well then.
I told you it was bad. Told you it was bad. I never claimed it was good.
You missed my. Wait, what?
Francis, long time no see, man.
What
How you been?
I'm trying to work out. I think I got all my technical difficulties situated.
All right. Do you want to go now while we're waiting for Ghislaine to get back?
I can if it's gonna keep the show going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before you start though,
Oh.
who is your favorite witch?
Okay. So I actually didn't know it was like witchcraft themed, but I have to go with like one of my original like witch crushes, and that's Willow from Buffy. Like I didn't really know what like witches like actually could be like in real life, but also like the whole entire coven from The Craft is also like up there. And then I have a childhood weakness for Sarah Sanderson that started something in my thing for blondes. And then also I just I kind of knew, but also Beth is also up there on my favorite witches list now because of earlier. Yes. I don't know if you heard that, but yeah, she's definitely up there now. Like,
Oh, DJ Franchise, what do you have for us tonight?
well, okay, yeah, so kind of like throwing a curveball and like changing up like the vibe. So it's like today is also like National Coming Out Day, and I was thinking like, okay, like what's like the like coming out song or whatever, and it's just like all the like emotion to like inspire, you know, like people that are like in the closet to come out or whatever. And it's like with everything that's going on, and it's like with all like the hype, I was like, what if I did Reflection from Mulan, you know? And it's like it's like the original concept was like I was gonna start like this, and then like I was gonna put makeup on and then end up like a woman, but I didn't have time for all that. So I'm just gonna sing it, and then yeah. So here we go. But the full performance was I was gonna start off as the man and then end as a woman, and then it's like the reverse reflection. But I'm just gonna start. Here we go. Look at me. You may think you see who I really am, but you'll never know me. Every day, it's as if I play a part. Now I see, if I wear a mask, I can fool the world, but I cannot fool my heart. staring straight back at me. When will my reflection show who I am inside? I am now in a world where I have to hide my heart and what I believe in, but somehow I will show the world what's inside my heart and be loved for who I am. Who is that girl I see staring straight back at me? Why is my reflection someone I don't know? Must I pretend that I'm someone else for a time? When will my reflection show who I am inside? There's a heart that must be free to fly, and it burns with the need to know the reason why must pretend that I'm who we think, how we feel. Must there be a secret me I'm forced to hide? I won't pretend that I'm someone else for a time. When will my reflection show who I am inside? When will my reflection show who I am inside?
Oh, wow. Francis, you are always so amazing.
Stop it. No, you guys are. This is so much fun.
Oh, I'm so glad we had you back. Oh my
I
goodness.
always try to make it whenever I can. Yeah. But it's just like, that's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, stupid onions.
I know, what a way to end it, right? Like,
Did you have another one for us, Mr. Franchise?
well, I mean, of course I could do I'll Make a Man Out of You from Milan, you know. If you want, you know, to kind of like bring it up, I guess. Let me.
You're getting words in the chat. Yes, please.
Okay. Okay.
Sadie, you got a joke in the meantime?
I do. I can't promise it's going to be any better. You know, sometimes when you're a witch on a budget, you got to travel in pairs, and then you have yourself a broom mate. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good one. Hey, this is only going to take a second, so give me a second and I'll have you guys queued in.
I don't know what's happening right now. Are you okay there, Joseph?
No, I assumed I got a cue to go forward with the Wizard's Duel, a Mad Madam song from Sword in the Stone.
Oh. You're doing a song for us?
Right now. Yeah, sorry, yeah, like the Disney version.
Sure.
You want to play the Disney version first? Well, let's finish Francis's performance first, and then we'll go there.
My apologies. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's all.
Make a man out of us, Francis.
All right. Let's see. I have to like. Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns? Did they send me daughters when I asked for sons? You're the saddest bunch I ever met, but you can bet before we're through, Mister, I'll make a man out of you. Tranquil as a forest, but on fire within. Once you find your center, you are sure to win. You're a spineless, pale, pathetic lot, and you haven't got a clue. Somehow I'll make a man out of you. I'm never gonna catch my breath, say goodbye to those who knew me. Boy, was I a fool in school for cutting gym. This guy's got him scared to death. Hope he doesn't see right through me. Now I really wish that I knew how to swim. You must be swift as a coursing river, with all the force of a great typhoon, with all the strength of a raging fire, mysterious as the dark side of the moon. Time is racing toward us till the Huns arrive. Heed my every order, and you might survive. You're unsuited for the rage of war, so pack up, go home, you're through. How could I make a man out of you? You must be swift as a coursing river, with all the force of a great typhoon, with all the strength of a raging fire, mysterious as the dark side of the moon. You must be swift as a coursing river, with all the force of a great typhoon, with all the strength of a raging fire, mysterious as the dark side of the moon.
Yes.
That was so good, Mrs.
Yes.
Franchise. That was
really good. Thank
In
you.
fact, I felt like you made a man out of me. But next
Well, I mean, woman, he-man, she-man, all man.
If you only knew what's coming, yes.
Just say what is next.
I'm gonna.
All right. Well, who do we? Thank you so much, Francis. You were amazing.
That was
Joseph,
so good. Thank you.
Joseph, go ahead and send me that link, and I'll see if we can play it and share screen like how I do the pet poetry. So send it to me in a message on Facebook, and I'll see what I can do.
And meanwhile, while that is going on, Aban, do you have a little something for us prepared?
I was going to say, I'm not 1,000% sure that I can actually. Can you hear that?
Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay.
Can you actually hear the music coming through the background?
No. The only way really that stuff works is by sharing your screen on a computer.
Or you might have to go on your microphone settings and cancel out the noise cancellation. That way it picks up the background noise.
Hey.
Hi, Aban. Why don't we have you go next while we're figuring out the technical difficulties on Joseph's end?
This is my Rick. Y'all ever heard of him? Seen one at events?
Yes.
Operas? Stuff like that? Cool. I'll go play y'all a little something. Oh, by the way, if y'all want to dance, y'all can go ahead.
was awesome.
That was so good, Aban. Thank you so
Thanks. That was
much.
quality.
All right. Well, I'm not sure how we can do that other bit, but I am ready with my poem.
Excellent, Ghislaine.
Okay. This one's shorter. The Witch by Mary Coleridge. I have walked a great while over the snow, and I'm not tall nor strong. My clothes are wet and my teeth are set, and the way was hard and long. I have wandered over the fruitful earth, but I never came here before. Oh, lift me over the threshold, and let me in at the door. The cutting wind is a cruel foe. I dare not stand in the blast. My hands are stone, and my voice a groan, and the worst of death is past. I am but a little maiden still. My little white feet are sore. Oh, lift me over the threshold, and let me in at the door. Her voice was the voice that women have, who plead for their heart's desire. She came, and the quivering flame sank and died in the fire. It never was lit again on my hearth, since I hurried across the floor to lift her over the threshold and let her in at the door.
Well, thank you, Ghislaine. So apparently one of Ghislaine's favorites of all of my songs is Islands in the Stream. But sadly, my friend Kenny couldn't be with us tonight. And since I don't want to disappoint anybody, I decided I would do the duet with myself. But before I perform the final song of the evening, I would like to thank you all for watching Scintillating Stories Showcase. Watching the Scintillating Showcase, brought to you by Intervision Entertainment. To check out everything we do, visit our YouTube channel, My Aloha TV, where you can find even more recordings of the Scintillating Showcase, as well as pet poetry, McGarfield, popular person problems, and scintillating stories. Please like, subscribe, and share the vision. Next week, like, subscribe, and share the vision. You can also become a visionary through Patreon, and there will be a link in the chat. Please join us next week for Scintillating Stories Live. To miss it would be a grave error. Did I do that right, Ghislaine? A grave error.
It's my kind of pun.
And join us in 2 weeks for another Scintillating Showcase.
And what happens on the 31st?
On the 31st, we have a spooktacular, and if you are interested in participating in that some way as a special guest with us, please let Ghislaine know, and she will take care of you. And we have all kinds of things for the scintillating show. For the spooktacular. There will be stories, there will be songs, all kinds of stuff. I think Ghislaine is typing out things in the chat right now to share with everybody. Is that correct?
Sort of, honey, but I will definitely send those things in just a moment, please.
All right. Well, I guess it's time for me to start with the last song of the show. So here I go. Baby, when I met you, there was peace unknown. Set out to get you with a fine-tooth comb. I was soft inside. There was something going on. You do something to me that I can't explain. Hold me closer and I feel no pain. Every beat of my heart, we got something going on. Tender love is blind, it requires a dedication. All this love we feel needs no conversation. We ride it together, making love with each other, Islands in a stream, that is what we are. each other. From one lover to another. I can't live without you if the love is gone. Everything is nothing if you got no one, and you do walk in the night, slowly losing sight of the real thing. But that won't happen to us, and we got no doubt. Too deep in love, and we got no way out, and the message is clear. This could be the year for the real thing. No more will you cry, baby, I will hurt you never. We started and as one in love forever. We can ride it together, making love with each other, Islands in the stream, that is what we are. No one in between. How can we be wrong? Sail away with me to another world, and we'll rely on each other, from one lover to another, Gee, darling, that was great. You want to try it again? Oh, absolutely, Kenny. I'll start. Islands in the stream, that is what we are. No one in between. How can we be wrong? Sail away with me to another world, and we'll rely on each other, from one lover to another, Sail away with me, sail away with me, Oh, thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much for coming, everyone.
Oh, and remember, everybody, you want to stay and neuter your pets. And no matter what is going on in the world, remember, always, always wash your hands.
Yes.
Wash those hands.
Always good advice, no matter what.
If you're going to go out there and do things because you need it for your psychological help or for work or whatever, just remember, wear a mask, social distancing. Let's not spread the disease to those who cannot handle it. Love you all. Love you all. Thank you so much for joining us, either live or on YouTube. Good night, everybody.
Night.